family to be seated on the chairs and ask everyone else to gather behind the family, please.
He's going to help us find the card.
Да. Леночка, сейчас, сейчас, одну секунду, сейчас я все уже.
И сядь, Лене надо сесть, иди сюда. Сядь, тебе нельзя. Нельзя.
If I may have your attention, please. We're about to begin our service. Martin, would you pass all those out for Rabbi?
I'm not gonna wait. I'm done. Okay, you're gonna pay
No,
for the
Martin,
family?
the papers.
Okay. О, да, все.
We'll ask that everyone please take a moment to turn your cell phones to their silent mode before we begin. Again, if I can ask everyone to please make sure your cell phones are on silent.
Take a 350. Людина приходить. You have it?
Conducting our service today is Rabbi Shlomo Tenenbaum. I'm sorry, Sholem Tenenbaum.
Deep sin. Deep sin.
So we're going to start the service with a special readings from the book of Psalms. You have it on the page that you got. So it's page 144, the front side of the page. So we're going to start in English. Please join in. We'll say it together. We're going to start. This is the first psalm in the book of Psalms on the top left. So please join in with me. Happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, that one's delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meditating in God's Torah day and night. And will be like a tree planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in season, whose leaf will not wither, and whatever that one does prospers. Not so the wicked, who are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord loves the ways of the righteous, but the way of the wicked is doomed. We're going to continue with the next one, which is Psalm 15. So please join in. A song of David. Lord, who may sojourn in your tent, who may dwell on your holy mountain, one who walks in purity, does what is righteous, and speaks the truth from the heart, who has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor cast disgrace towards a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal hurt and never retracts, who does not lend money on interest, nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. For Psalm 23, we'll recite it first in the Hebrew. I will say it slowly so everyone can join in, and then we'll recite it in English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bin ot desha yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni, v'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit zalmavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha ema yenachamoni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorerai. Tishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shafti beveit Adonai lo arech yamim. Now for the translation in English. On the left side of the page, this is the famous Psalm 23. So together, a song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. All the customs that we have when it comes to burial, like in general, they have meaning and value. And when it comes to a funeral, a levaya, the meaning and value of the different customs that we have not only benefit those that are here, present here today, alive with us today, as the verse says, but it's also beneficial for the one who has passed on. For instance, a eulogy. We eulogize, it's customary to eulogize one who has passed away. What is the benefit of eulogizing? This is something we should have done. Speaking about the virtues of an individual needs to be done when a person is alive. What's the benefit of speaking about virtue at this point? And one of the reasons given is because this facilitates and helps the transition. The person who has passed on is now going to another realm, another reality, going from a physical reality where the values and priorities are on one side of the spectrum to a spiritual, godly reality where the priorities are on the other side of the spectrum. It's two different worlds. And if you think about it like this, if you were given a mission by the CEO of Apple, and you have to go to Bangkok, Thailand to accomplish a specific goal, and you have 1 year to accomplish the goal, and you're going to change the lives of the people in Bangkok, and you go with motivation and inspiration, and you come and you arrive, and you're there for a year, and you work hard and diligently, but ultimately life has its challenges, things crop up, issues crop up, and not everything gets done the way that you want. And comes the end of the year, and they make a goodbye party for you. A goodbye party to see you off after everything that you've done. And picture that by the goodbye party, no one says anything about your accomplishments. You go home without any awareness or clarity. What actually did you accomplish? How did people view it? Did you change people's lives? Was it as you intended? Think about the anxiety and the angst, the stress of the person going home now, and how long this is going to percolate in the person's mind. Did they accomplish? Did they not accomplish? What did they do? Was their mission purposeful or meaningful or not? Versus if by that goodbye party they speak about and they appreciate and they're grateful for all the beautiful things that this individual brought to the table, the person is able to go with peace of mind and clarity. It's a whole different going back. So likewise, the purpose of a eulogy is not just to sing praises for no reason. There's a benefit for us, for the family, to be able to internalize the legacy of the one that has passed on, and the benefits for the one that has, the benefits for the deceased is that they can go on with peace of mind and clarity, knowing that they made a difference and knowing that they had an impact on our lives, and therefore we stated clearly. So to start with, I'd like to call on Karina, Yaakov's granddaughter, to come up and share a few words. Which name should we be using, Yaakov or Jan or John? We could interchange between. Okay.
It saddens me more than anything to be up here right now having to speak on this occasion. But I refuse to make this a moment of loss and choose to make this a moment of love and life. That's what Zeda would have wanted. He would have wanted me to be up here with a smile on my face, and that's what I'm gonna give him. As a child, I always remember him being full of life, always on the go, always on the move, and on to the next adventure. He used to pick me up every day, every single day from school, and do activities with me the second we got home. He taught me everything I know. He taught me to draw, paint, ride my bike. He used to turn on the CD and their boombox and dance all night with me to all of the songs. We used to go fishing every single day. I remember he would tell me to go outside after it rained and dig for worms so we could use them as bait to fish. And I'm still not scared of worms to this day. The morning I found out he passed, I went to a beautiful spot on a pier by the beach. I knew I had to be out of the house and in nature, just like he loved. As I looked out onto the water, I saw these beautiful jumping fish, and they were jumping 3 feet high and doing flips in the water. I just was full of sadness and grief, but I couldn't help but laugh. I was just there the other day looking for fish and not a single one in sight, but today, multiple fish jumping and saying hello. I'm so incredibly grateful to have been there with you during your last days. I usually only visit in the summer and winter. Wow, and it's 11:11 right now. But this year I decided to randomly surprise Baba for her birthday with a 3-day trip to Chicago just last week. Mama wasn't here and I didn't tell any of my friends I was visiting. All my attention was for my grandparents only. We sat outside for Baba's birthday in the beautiful green garden near the pond. We sang to Baba and had yummy cake and drank their favorite Bartendura wine. These magical moments I'll cherish forever. There's no explanation for this perfect timing. Only the highest power is capable of that wonderful blessing. It's still so crazy to think that it was just last week you were guessing the words on Pour le Chudias before the contestants even did while we were watching. Life is made up of small, beautiful moments. He once found a branch that was twisted into the shape of a Hebrew letter Hi. He would always hold and hug the Hi and place it close to his heart whenever he needed some extra help from above. It's no coincidence that today is the 18th, which is a very special number. It means life. So I choose today to celebrate his life. This is only me saying goodbye to your physical being, but our souls will forever be connected until the end of time. And I was gonna have a Coca-Cola in hand and say, take a sip for him if we don't have it now, but it was his favorite drink, so at some point today, take a sip of Coca-Cola for him and think of him and remember him, because that's what he would have loved to have here. Yeah, I love you, Zelda.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Milena, John's daughter, to come up and share a few words. Milena.
Going to be really hard for me to top that incredible eulogy that my daughter just made. It brings tears to my eyes and warms my heart, and we both get the power of speech from my father and her grandfather. He has taught us so much in life. First of all, thank you for gathering here today to celebrate the life of my father, John Gerd, who is also Yaakov, Ben Shalom, who is also Jan, who is also Yanchuk. And thank you for joining us via live stream for those that are online with us. Papa, you taught me that every day we breathe is precious. My father was born in 1935 under the name of Yakov Alexandrovich Gerstein. His Hebrew name is Yakov Ben Shalom in Kiev, Ukraine, to Clara and Shura Gerstein. He was the oldest of 3 children. As many other children during that time, he was a child during World War II. He saw a lot of horrific things during the war. He told me stories about walking for days in freezing cold weather with only rags on his feet and a sugar cube to lick. He lost his beloved sister Larachka to typhus, and she died in his arms during evacuation. Papa, you taught me how to love life. Because he saw injustice and loss and pain during childhood, my father had an incredible love and appreciation for life. In 1952, he was again hurt by life when my grandfather was accused of being a German spy because he had blue eyes. Just for that reason. In the middle of the night, the KGB came into their house and destroyed everything in sight, almost raped my grandmother, and almost killed his younger brother Michael, whose son Oleg is here today with his family. My dad fought the enemy with all his might. He saved my grandmother and his little brother from death. However, my grandfather was arrested and tortured for weeks because he was a Jew during the times of the Stalin reign. My father realized that the only way to break free from this is to move to the United States. This was his dream from the age of 17. Papa, you taught me that life and love, that love is real. In his 20s, my father met the only woman he ever loved, my mother Lana, Svetlana, who's sitting here. She was to him and is to him and always be to him the most beautiful, smartest woman in the world. I remember him telling me that the second he saw her, he fell in love, and he was never going to let her go and would create a family with her. My father always took my mom's side, no matter what, and always protected us. To his very last breath, all he said was that she was beautiful and that he loved her more than words can express. Papa, you taught me that humor is incredibly important. My dad was a hilariously funny guy. He was part of a comedy troupe called Kavan, and he would make dozens and dozens of people laugh and smile every single day. My dad played the guitar, he sang, and as a child I remember always having fun at home and having lots of guests and family members sitting at a long table. Despite the hardships of Soviet life, we always found food and happiness to share with others. Papa, you taught me that dreaming and realizing your dreams is important. My family immigrated to the United States in 1979 because my father had a dream of coming to America. My father had a dream of me living a life of religious freedom and not having to be ashamed of being Jewish. There are hundreds of stories that I can talk about. However, I remember just the smallest little things that left a strong impact in my life. I remember walking with my dad in Kiev, holding his hand and talking about the existence of God. I asked him if God exists when I was 6, and his answer was very smart. He looked up at the sky, looking at the beautiful blue clouds, and said, I don't have proof that God exists or that he lives up in the sky, but I do feel that God is not only in the sky, but he's all around us. Papa, you taught me that family is everything. My father and I always had an incredible connection. We almost had ESP, and we could communicate without words. I remember when I was sent to overnight camp in Ukraine, and I hated it so much, and I decided to wait for my father in the middle of the night. I ran away and waited patiently at the gate. Exactly at 6 in the morning, my father showed up, taking a 2-hour train to get me because he felt something was wrong. When he came to the United States, we spent many days on Morse Beach in Rogers Park. When we swam, walked, we talked about life and the importance of family and education. Papa, you taught me that it's okay to have less so that other people in your family could have more. His dream was to sit at a long table in the United States, free and happy, with a huge family. My parents brought in 55 people from our family while sponsoring each and every one of them. There was no expectation of a thank you because he did it from his heart and he really wanted his family to be free. In order to protect me, my dad filtered extended family issues and never let me get involved in something that would distract me from my studies. As a young adult, I did not understand what my father why my father was so extremely blunt and truthful, only to later realize that all his words came from the heart and that he was right. Papa, you taught me to prioritize my family. My father was there where so many others were not. He helped raise Karinechka. He taught her how to ride a bike, how to eat bread and butter with garlic, how to paint, how to have beautiful penmanship, and how to have good family values. Karinechka was always, 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 and always will be the love of his life. Papa, you taught me that only God can control life. 16 years ago, you fell. I saw my father's injury before the doctor, and I could tell what it was. Again, the connection was impeccable. The last 16 years, my mom pulled him back from the other side over and over and over again. She gave all her strength to help take care of him. Papa, I hope your soul transcends to the next level smoothly and peacefully. I hope you get to meet your sister again, and she will show you around. I hope that you will go on a fishing trip with your best friend Vova. And I hope, whose daughter is actually here today as well. And I hope you get to see your parents who will embrace you tightly once again. Papa, you have lived an incredible life. I will not say goodbye because I can still feel your presence. But I will ask you to watch over us and protect us always. I love you forever, Papa.
Thank you, Milena. Unfortunately, I did not have the privilege to know John personally, but just in the last 48, 72 hours, have been inspired by what I've heard about his life. How what you would think could be an average, regular person could have accomplished so much, could have done so much for others. Usually that's something we expect from celebrities, from people that are popular and exceptionally successful. Here, just the inspiration of a regular person being able to do these things, putting aside his personal needs to be able to provide for others. When Milena would ask as a child that John should buy this or that, so he would say that we have to put aside the money, we have to be able to help our brethren that are still in Russia. It came out in 1979. They left family and friends, and being able to put aside and have the sacrifice to help others by putting aside our essentials is a unique thing. And then later, like Milena mentioned about help sponsoring those 50 families, I mean, this is exceptional. It's not every day that you meet someone that has accomplished and affected and touched so many lives. So what gives a person that strength and that ability to be able to put his or her own needs on the side? So I just connected two things that Milena shared. Those stories, and then what your dad told you in the park when you asked if he thinks there's a God. And in communist Russia, where the education was atheistic, John answered, I can't tell you for sure if you could see him, but I know for sure that he exists. I know for sure that he's here. And not only up there, but he's here. That's what gives a person the strength to be able to put aside our own needs to be able to help another. We have to be able to do that, we need to be tied in with something greater. We have to have an awareness of something bigger than ourselves. To be able to stand up and be proud of being a Jew and having to pay the price of the many fights and beatings, that requires being in touch with something higher and greater. there's a story about a individual Chaim who passed away, and he comes up above and he's standing before the heavenly tribunal, before the heavenly court. And they're going through his account and the different things that he's accomplished, the different things that he's done. And they're going through, this, very nice, another good deed, helping another. And then they say, wow, this is exceptional. The gates of heaven need to be open for such an individual. And then they turn to him and they say, to be able to establish a school, a Jewish school in Texas, this is unique. For you, all the doors are open. So Chaim turns to them and he says, I was born in Israel, I was raised in Israel, I never went to Texas, and I never established a school in Texas. I don't know what you're talking about. So they turn to him and they say, do you remember that cold January day when you were standing by the Kotel, by the Western Wall, and you were praying with great concentration? At that moment, there was a wealthy individual from Texas standing there, and he was watching you. And he was so inspired by your behavior that he decided then and there that he's going to establish a Jewish school in Texas. And he went back and he established a Jewish school, and you have a part in that. We'll never know the ramification, the widespread effect that Yaakov's actions have had on those that he helped directly and those that he helped indirectly. But today, that torch is passed on to his family. Today, he's standing here, and all the previous generations are standing here. They pass on the baton, the torch, from this generation to the next. Now it's in our hands. Milena, Lana, Karina, George, the friends, the relatives, it's in our hands to take the legacy and to act on it, to take the inspiration and to live with it, to bring more meaning and purpose into our own lives. And Tehei Nishmato Tzrura B'Tzror HaChaim, may Yaakov's soul be bound in the bond of eternal life, and let us say, Amen. We're going to continue with the Kel Malei Rachamim, which is the memorial prayer. You have it on the flip side of the paper. So we read it together in English, and then I'll recite it in Hebrew. So Yaakov's name is Yaakov ben Shalom. So we'll read it together. It's on the bottom of page 149. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence and the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, onto the soul of Yaakov, son of Shalom, who has gone to his world, and for whose memory we pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of compassion bring him under the cover of God's wings and bind his soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be his heritage, and may he repose on his resting place in peace. And let us respond, Amen. I'll recite it in Hebrew. El Malei Rachamim Sheichein B'Meroimim Hamtzei Menucha Nechoina Tachas Kamfei Hashchina B'Mailos Kedoshim Utoirim Kezoyer Harakim Azhirim Es Nishmas Yaakov ben Shalom Shalach Leilamoi Ba'avur Sh'anachnu Mispalalim B'Yad Askaras Nishmasai B'Gan Eden Tei Menuchasai Lochein Bal Harachamim Yastirehu B'Seiser Knafav Leilamim V'Yitzrer B'Tzrer Achayim Es Nishmasai Adinoi hu nachalasai v'yanuach b'shalim al mishkavai v'neimar Amen. Before we continue with their interment, it's customary on behalf of the burial society and the family to ask Yaakov for forgiveness if we may have not treated him with the proper dignity and respect. Also for the family, if there's anything that may be between us, even if we are sure that there isn't, but we never know that something may have come up at some point, because this is a juncture of closure. So we ask, it's traditional and it's customary to ask for forgiveness if there's anything that we may have done that has not been, we've not accorded the proper honor or dignity and respect. So we ask Yaakov ben Shalom for forgiveness, and then Alana wants to share a few words.
I will talk Russian and English. Russian and English. There are some, and the word say, опустела без тебя земля. Как на свете без тебя прожить? But we family strong. We try our best. And he was very caring person. He loved his family. He say, I love my girl, Mila, Karinочка, and he take care about us all life. But all of a sudden, 16 years ago, he fell, and his brain was completely different, and he was very sick, but family and people around helped me. My friend Ellen, she saw when he fell, he showered the snow and fell on the stone covered with ice. Until I watch and saw this, she called ambulance. She don't wait for anything. And Jean come, it was, and he, in the same time ambulance come. When he come, he said, Vera, I dying. And ambulance come. And he suffered for 16 years. I care about him. I don't know good or not, but I try my best. My friend helped me a lot. So I want to thank you, everybody who share with me this bad time. I appreciate, and God will be with you. Amen.
As Yaakov was a descendant of the Baal Shem Tov through marriage, the founder of the Chassidic movement, so I'd like to invoke the name of the Baal Shem Tov and ask Yaakov to go up on high and beseech the Baal Shem Tov to pray on behalf of the family, on behalf of Milena, Karina, Lana, George, the extended family and the friends, to be able to continue and in good health, and to be able to take the inspiration of John's life and be able to continue the legacy. As well, there's a special song that's connected to the Baal Shem Tov, and because the song speaks about John's life and the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, that to love a fellow Jew just the same as you is the basis of our holy Torah. And the words continue, he may be far from me across the widest sea, still I'll always love him just the same. For 70, 80 years, a soul wears in tears just to do a favor for another. The Baal Shem Tov taught that for 70, 80 years, a soul comes down to the world and goes through all the challenges, and the whole purpose is, why did God send the soul down? Just to do a favor for another. So it continues, love him with all your heart, the heavens spread apart, for every Jew is really our brother. Now in the girls' camps, they say sister, you can't say them both at the same time. So I was in the boys' camp, you say brother, they say sister. In my house now, when I say every Jew is really our brother, the kids scream out, and sister. Okay, so I'll sing the song. To love a fellow Jew just the same as you is the basis of our holy Torah. He may be far from me across the widest sea, still I'll always love him just the same. For 70, 80 years a soul wears and tears just to do a favor for another. Love him with all your heart, the heavens spread apart, for every Jew is really our brother. Love him with all your heart, the heavens spread apart, for every Jew is really our brother and sister. We're going to continue with the interment. So customarily, it's appropriate for us to help out by putting the placing earth over the casket once the interment is done. However, the custom is not to pass the shovel from one person to the next. As we do it hesitantly, we're not looking to do it. It's an obligation and a responsibility and a mitzvah, but it's not something we want to pass on to another person. When we pass things on, we want to pass happy things, joyful things. So instead of passing the shovel to the next person, we actually put it down and let the next person pick it up on their own. It's customary to place earth from the land of Israel in first. So we have earth from the land of Israel, and Lana will put it in.
Anyone who is intending to participate, we will ask you please be very mindful of your footing near the grave. The ground is very soft, so please be extremely careful. Shiva will be observed at 21402 West South Bosham Circle in Kildare, where the family will be sitting for the traditional Shiva period.
So at this point, they're doing the renting of the garments. It's customary to tear a garment to illustrate that something dear and close to us has been torn from us physically.
Спасибо, дорогие. Hold on. Can we, все помню.
Yeah, they're just covering it. They're gonna.
Леня возил все время. Everybody. Анечка. Ирена всегда была. Как только позвонишь ей, она тут приезжала.
Папа очень хотел прийти, но он не пришел.
Она давала ему работу, когда он на пенсию пошел. Они были клиник. Что-то было. И он... Okay.
Once they conclude with the interment, everyone is able to come up and be part of the mitzvah of the burial. But again, because it's not something we're looking to do, it's something we have an obligation and a responsibility. So there's two things. First of all, we don't pass the shovel from one to another. And also, the first few shovels, we do it with the shovel upside down, showing that we're hesitant. This is not something we're looking to do. You can also, besides for the earth that will be placed on the ground, you also have the earth in the buckets, which is easier to handle if you'd prefer.
Фрешмен тайский. Фрешмен тайский. Даже была моложе всех. Тайский. Я хотела, чтобы папа пришел, но я плохо чувствовала. А?
Мы должны быть там. Мама.
Нет, ты должна первая. Не, уже было, уже порезали, уже все сделали. Уже все.
So if you could form a line, come up, be able to partake in the mitzvah. Following this, we're going to recite Kaddish and conclude this service.
Anyone who'd like to use the pails can come forward as well and do at the same time.
Неделю тому назад были у Герда постригли. Неделю, ровно неделю. И был разговаривал, шутил. Да.
моя помощь, все мне помогает. Удачи. Сегодня привезла
Once you've participated, we'll ask you please return to where you were standing.
во всем доме. Потому что там нет любви. Я посредине, он с одной стороны, и наперебой все рассказывал за эту неделю. Сколько часов? 4. Ты же его бесславно хотела. Ты же его бесславно. Я ему говорю, что я его знаю.
Everyone else to move back to where they were standing, please. Let's go back to the chairs.
So we're going to continue. We're going to continue with Kaddish. George, John's son-in-law, is going to recite the Kaddish, and at the end of every phrase, we make sure to answer Amen. Is everyone able to hear?
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, במעדהו עתיר להתוודע ולחיה מתיה ולסקה לחיי עלמה ולמיני קרתה לירושלים ולשכלל החלה בגבה ולמעקר פלוחנה לחורנה מהרה ולהטבה פולנה דשמיה לאתך והמליך קידושה בריחו במלכותי ויקרא בחייכון ובמכון ומחי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קרא ואמרו אמן. יש שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתחומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל בחטא ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
I'm going to ask everyone here to form two lines. You're going to make a corridor for the family to pass through. Ladies on one side, men on another. Men on this side, ladies on this side. Make a corridor, please.
Shiva, yeah? Okay. At your house? Okay. There will be also a meal for the mourners and for whoever would like to join at the house of Shiva, which is 21402 West, South, and Kildare.
If we can have the family, please.
Yeah, Kildare, I guess it is.
So we continue with the consolation for those that are mourning. So Lana, Milena, and Karina. So as they walk through the aisle that we created, we say Hamakam Yanacham Eschem B'Soch Shar Avei Tzion V'Yerushalayim, which means may the Almighty console you amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. So we'll say it together in Hebrew. Hamakom Yanachem Etchem B'Toch Sha'ar Avei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. And in English, may the Almighty console you amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And again, there'll be a meal now at George and Milena's home, and Shiva also at George and Milena's home in Kildare.
Yeah. Okay. Are you coming in and no, I can go later. No rush. No rush. I can come.
Our services here are now concluded, and we will ask that everyone please return to your cars. Thank you.
No, not the count. I don't